I don't know why I am giving you this money. I hope I'm doing the right thing. Take this, that's all I have.
You!
You there!
What relationship do you have with that beggar, eh?
I'm just being kind.
Kind? Did he ask you to be kind, or you think we are not kind too?
But
Listen, young woman, we don't want to see you give that beggar money ever again.
he is just someone that needs help.
Help? You think we don't need help too, eh?
This is your last warning.
The man she had been feeding 500 every morning for 3 years walked into the bank boardroom in a tailored suit and sat down to decide her future. She had skipped meals for him, counted coins for him, cried for him, and he had been watching her the entire time. Folake counted the money 3 times. 2,000. That was all she had. She spread the notes flat on her palm, smoothing each one like it was fragile. 2 worn 500 notes, 3 crumpled 200 notes, some coins. She stood at the edge of her one-room apartment in Sur-L'air, the kind of room where the ceiling fan wobbled so badly she'd stopped sleeping under it. Today was Monday. She had 7 days before her market stall rent was due. She folded the money carefully and tucked it into her bra. Then she picked up her bag, old black leather, the zip broken and held shut with a safety pin, and walked out into the Lagos morning. The street was already alive. Okada men revving engines. Women frying akara by the roadside, the hot oil smell filling the air. Children in school uniforms running late. Folake walked fast, her slippers slapping the dusty ground. She wore her blue Ankara blouse, the one with the faded shoulder, and a black skirt she'd owned for 4 years. She saw him before she reached the junction. He was always there. Same spot. Same torn wrapper around his shoulders. Same empty bowl on the ground in front of him. He sat with his eyes half closed, back against the wall of the old pharmacy building. He never spoke. Never begged aloud. Never called out to anyone. He just sat there, every single morning. Folake had first seen him 3 years ago. She'd been having a terrible week. Stall sales were bad, her landlord was threatening her, and she'd had exactly 1,500 inches her pocket. She didn't know why she stopped. Something in her chest just pulled. She dropped 200 inches his bowl and kept walking. The next morning, she gave 200 again. Then it became 500. She didn't remember when it changed. It just did. Now, 1,095 days later, it was simply what she did, like breathing. She stopped in front of him now, reached into her bra, pulled out a 500 note. Her hand paused for just a second. 1,500 left. Market transport is 300. Food for the day. Stall supplies. She placed the 500 inches his bowl. He bowed his head slowly. He always bowed, never smiled, never spoke. Just that quiet, dignified bow. Folake walked away. Maybe this is foolish, she thought. Maybe BC is right. Maybe I'm throwing money into the air. Her friend BC had told her to stop. Her mother had told her to stop. Even strangers at the bus stop had looked at her like she was mad, but she couldn't stop. She'd tried once. Got to the junction and felt something wrong in her chest, like a stone sitting where her heart should be. She turned back, gave him the money. The stone disappeared. She couldn't explain it. So she stopped trying. At the market, she arranged her tomatoes, peppers, and crayfish with practiced hands. Business had been slow for 6 weeks. Some days she made 3,000. Some days 800. But she had a dream. Mama Folake's kitchen, a real restaurant, proper tables, good food, her own place. She'd been carrying that dream for 5 years like a seed in her pocket. That evening, she counted her remaining 1,500 and wondered how she would survive the week. What Folake didn't know was that every morning someone else was watching her give. Someone who was taking notes. Someone who would change her life completely. Folake had a notebook. It was cheap, the kind students buy for 150 at roadside stalls. The cover was blue. The pages were lined. And inside it, written in her careful handwriting, was everything. Mama Folake's kitchen. She had drawn the layout herself. 6 tables, a proper kitchen at the back, a small counter at the front.
Hello, Please, before you continue, this is African Folktales by Protex. Please kindly subscribe, like, comment, and share for more stories. Let's continue. Thank you.
Where customers could see the food being served. She wanted it to smell like her grandmother's compound in Ibadan pepper soup and fresh Iba and wood smoke and joy. She had been saving for 5 years. Every month, no matter how bad sales were, she put something away. 5,000 one month, 2,000 another. Once, a terrible month, only 500. But she never stopped saving. Total saved 300,000. She was proud of that number. It had cost her everything. No new clothes, no outings, no comfort. But it wasn't enough. A proper restaurant space in Lagos, with equipment, furniture, and 3 months' rent up front? She needed 5 million. That meant a loan of 4.7 million. Folake had spent 2 weeks preparing. She wrote her business plan in that same blue notebook. She researched customer prices. She calculated daily sales projections. She even visited 3 restaurants nearby to study their customer flow. She practiced what she would say to the bank, standing in her small room, talking to the wall. "Good morning, sir. My name is Folake Adeyemi. I am applying for a business loan of 4.7 million. I have a clear repayment plan and 5 years of savings as proof of financial discipline." She said it until it sounded confident. Then she went to the first bank, Access Bank. The loan officer was a young man in a tight suit who barely looked up from his computer. He flipped through her documents for 4 minutes. 4 minutes for 5 years of her life. "Your collateral is insufficient," he said. Next. Folake walked out. She sat at the bus stop for 20 minutes before she could stand up again. The second bank was Zenith. The officer there was a woman who seemed kinder until she reached the page showing Folake's market stall income. "This is too irregular," she said, sliding the documents back. "We need stable monthly income. Come back when your business is more established." More established. Folake almost laughed. "How do I establish a business without the loan to start it?" She didn't say that. She thanked the woman and left. That same evening, walking home, she passed his corner. The beggar was still there. Late evening, and he hadn't moved. Without thinking, she reached into her bag. She'd set aside tomorrow's 500 already. She placed it in his bowl. At the bus stop, a man in a dashiki watched her. "Why do you waste money on that beggar?" he asked. Not rudely, just confused. Folake looked at him. "It's not a waste," she said quietly. "It's who I am." She boarded her bus and didn't look back. She didn't know that her answer to that stranger was heard by someone else. Someone who had been listening all along. The third bank said no before she finished her sentence. The fourth bank lost her documents and asked her to come back. She came back. They lost them again. Then they said no. The fifth bank was polite about it. They gave her tea, smiled warmly, and rejected her in the kindest possible way. It still felt like a slap. The sixth bank was different. The loan officer was a heavy-set man named Tunde. He had a large desk and a small heart. He looked at Folake's blue notebook, her 5 years of dreams, her careful calculations, her hand-drawn restaurant layout, and he laughed. Not a small laugh. A real one. "Market woman wants 5 million naira." He shook his head. "My sister, go and face your tomatoes. This is not for you." Folake's hands went cold. She gathered her documents slowly, page by page. She kept her face still because she refused to cry in front of this man. She said, "Thank you for your time," in a voice that didn't shake. She made it to the street before the tears came. She didn't wipe them. She just walked, past the Donfo buses, past the shouting conductors, past the suya seller whose smoke curled into the orange evening sky. She walked and cried and let Lagos swallow her pain because Lagos didn't care either way. That night, her sister Shade called. "How did it go?" Folake told her. Shade was quiet for a moment. Then, "Folake, I've been meaning to say this. Stop giving that beggar money. You hear me? Stop. That 500 every day? That's 15,000 a month. That's 180,000 a year. For 3 years." Her voice rose. "You've given that man over 500,000 naira. 500,000, and you're struggling to get a loan?" Folake sat with that number. She'd never calculated it before. 500,000 naira, gone, into a bowl. to a man who never even said thank you. Just stop, Shade said softly. Please. That night, Folake held the 500 she'd set aside for mourning. She turned it over in her fingers. Crisp. Orange. The face of Murtala Mohammed looking back at her. 6 banks, 6 no's, 500,000 naira given away. Morning came gray and humid. She walked to the junction slowly. She could see him from 50 meters away. Same spot, same torn wrapper, same stillness. She stopped. For the first time in 3 years, her feet didn't want to move forward. I need this 500. The thought was loud. 6 banks rejected me. My sister is right. What is the point? She looked at his face. Something quiet lived in that face. Something she couldn't name. She walked forward. She placed the 500 inches his bowl, and then she whispered so low, she barely heard herself. I don't know why I keep doing this, but I can't stop. She walked away crying. Her phone rang at 2 p.m. Unknown number. Good afternoon. This is First Trust Bank. We'd like to invite you for a loan interview. Can you come tomorrow at 10 a.m.? Please ask for Mr. Kofo. Folake frowned. I don't remember applying to First Trust Bank. We have your application, Ma. Please come tomorrow. She stood still in the middle of the market, tomatoes on one side, peppers on the other, her heart doing something strange in her chest. Mr. Kofo. She didn't know that name. She had never heard it before. She had no idea that the interview tomorrow would reveal a truth that had been 3 years in the making. First Trust Bank did not look like the other banks. Those banks had been fine. Marble floors, air conditioning, security guards at the door, normal Lagos banks. But First Trust Bank sat on Kofo Abayomi Street in Victoria Island like it owned the entire road. Glass walls, clean lines. A fountain in the entrance courtyard that actually worked. Folake stood outside for a full minute before walking in. She was wearing her best outfit, a cream-colored lace blouse she'd bought 3 years ago for her cousin's wedding, a dark green skirt. Her good shoes, the black heels, with a small scratch on the left one she tried to cover with a marker. She looked at the women walking in and out of the bank. Their bags cost more than her rent. She almost turned around. Don't, something inside her said. You didn't come this far to turn around. She walked in. The receptionist was a young woman named BC, with a warm smile. Miss Folake Adeyemi? Yes. Mr. Kofo is expecting you. Please follow me. That stopped her. Expecting her. Like he knew exactly who she was. The office was at the end of a long corridor. Dark wood door. BC knocked twice, opened it, and gestured for Folake to enter. The office was large and quietly powerful. Bookshelves. A wide window overlooking the Lagos skyline. A mahogany desk with neat stacks of documents. A man sat behind the desk with his back to her, looking out the window. Please, sit down, he said. His voice was deep, calm. Certain, Folake said. He turned around. The air left her body. She knew that face. She knew the shape of that jaw, the stillness in those eyes. She had looked at that face every single morning for 3 years. She had placed 500 inches front of that face over 1,000 times, but the torn wrapper was gone. In its place, a charcoal gray suit that fit like it was made for him, a crisp white shirt, a burgundy tie. His hands, which had always cradled that bowl, were now folded calmly on the desk, clean, powerful, certain. Folake's mouth opened. Nothing came out. She stopped, started again. I don't understand. Kofo smiled. Not a big smile. Small and gentle, like he'd been waiting for this moment and wanted to handle it carefully. Please, don't be afraid, he said. You're safe here. Her voice broke. You're the beggar. I was the beggar, he said quietly. Yes. But you how? She pressed her hand to her chest. Her heart was hitting her ribs like it wanted to escape. How do you know my name? I've known your name for a long time, Folake. He leaned forward. I own this bank, and 6 others across Nigeria. Every morning for the past 3 years, I have disguised myself and sat at that junction. Not because I needed money. His eyes held hers. Because I needed to find someone with character. Folake couldn't speak. I have tested over 200 people, he continued. Businessmen, traders, professionals. Most gave once or twice. Some gave for a few weeks. A few lasted months. He paused. Only you lasted 3 years. He opened his desk drawer and placed a notebook on the table. It was small, brown cover, worn edges. He opened it and turned it toward her. She saw dates. Hundreds of them. Next to each date, 500. Next to some entries, small notes in neat handwriting. Counted money before giving. Still gave. Cried while walking away. Still gave. Overheard arguing on phone about money. Still gave. 6 bank rejections yesterday. Still gave. Her eyes blurred. Even yesterday, Kofo said, softly. After everything, you still came. The tears came down her face. She didn't stop them. He slid a document across the desk. She looked down. Loan approval. 5 million. Interest rate? 0%. 0. No interest? She whispered. None, he said. Pay it back when your restaurant succeeds, not before. Folake put her face in her hands and wept, but he wasn't finished. What he said next would change not just her business, but her entire understanding of life itself. Kofo let her cry. He didn't rush her, didn't offer empty words. He simply waited, the way a man waits, who understands that some tears need to finish on their own. When Folake finally lifted her head, he handed her a folded white handkerchief, real cloth, soft. She almost laughed she hadn't seen a cloth handkerchief since her grandfather. Can I tell you something? He said. She nodded. I was not always this. He gestured at the office, the suit, the skyline behind him. I grew up in Ajagunle. We were very poor. My mother sold groundnuts by the roadside. Some evenings we ate, some evenings we didn't. Folake watched his face. The certainty in it softened slightly, like a window opening. But my mother, he paused, collected himself. Every single day, no matter what we had, she gave something to whoever had less. A handful of groundnuts, a few coins, sometimes just water. He looked down at his hands. I used to ask her, Mama, why? We have nothing ourselves. You know what she told me? Folake shook her head. She said, Kofo, character is who you are when nobody is watching, but somebody is always watching. His voice was quiet now, careful, like he was carrying something fragile. She died when I was 17, before she could see any of this. The room was very still. I built this test for her, he said, to find people who carried what she carried. That kindness that doesn't need a reason. That giving that doesn't calculate. He looked directly at Folake. You reminded me of her every single morning. Folake pressed the handkerchief to her eyes. Then Kofo pushed a second document across the desk. She frowned, confused. She looked down. It wasn't a loan addendum. It wasn't more paperwork. It was a partnership agreement. I don't just want to give you money, he said. I want to invest in your restaurant as a silent partner. I will provide the capital, the business connections, the mentorship. You bring what you've always had, the character, the dream, the consistency. He folded his hands. Mama Folake's kitchen will open, and it will succeed. I'll make sure of it. Folake could not speak. She had walked into this building this morning hoping for a loan. She was leaving with a partner, a mentor, and a future. 3 months later, Mama Folake's kitchen opened on a bright Saturday morning in Yaba. It was everything she'd drawn in that blue notebook. 6 tables with orange tablecloths. The smell of pepper soup and fried plantain drifting into the street. A small chalkboard sign outside with the name written in her own handwriting. Customers came from the first hour. The tables filled. The kitchen hummed. Folake stood outside for a moment, just breathing it in. Then she felt a light tug at her awareness, a figure at the edge of the road. A beggar. Old man. Torn clothes. Eyes down. Folake didn't hesitate. She walked to him and placed 1,000 inches his hand. He looked up, surprised. She just smiled. Across the street, a black car was parked quietly. Tinted windows. Engine off. Inside, Kofo watched her. He smiled. Then he started the engine and drove away. That evening, Folake sat alone at one of her own tables after closing. The kitchen was quiet. The orange tablecloths glowed softly in the last light. She thought about the 3 years, the 500 notes, the morning she had almost stopped, the 6th bank, the tears on the way home. The crumpled notes smoothed flat on her palm. She thought about a boy in a jaganlay and his mother who sold groundnuts and understood everything. And she said it quietly, to no one and everyone. I thought I was giving to a beggar. I didn't know I was planting seeds that would change my life. Kindness is never wasted. Your character is always being watched. And when your harvest comes, it will be greater than anything you ever planted. Kindness to those who cannot repay you is never wasted. Your character is always being watched, even when you think no one sees. And when your harvest comes, it will be greater than anything you ever planted. If this story touches you, please kindly subscribe, like, comment, and share the story so it can bless someone too. Thanks.